Welcome back. I'm Jay Papazan. Let's continue our discussion on staging. Now that you've dangled the carrot of staging in front of your sellers, and most importantly, they've signed the listing agreement, it's time to consult your new client on staging their home. Rather than telling your sellers what they need to do, take a consultative approach by putting the information in front of the seller and letting them decide. As Gary Gentry says, your job is to help them make a great decision. In this way, the information demonstrates what needs to be done, rather than you giving them a lecture. Try using pictures. Set a picture of a cluttered, dirty kitchen next to a clean, uncluttered, staged kitchen, and let that do the heavy lifting for you. Use pictures of other common parts of the home: the family room, the kitchen, the master bedroom, a closet, and the yard. Great. And don't forget money. What are the costs of not staging? If sellers resist making changes, visually show them how much not making these changes could cost them in the long run. Practicing scripts and dialogues will be critical to your success in using these techniques. Keller Williams University has scripts available for you at kellerwilliamsuniversity.com in our new KW course, An Agent's Guide to Seller Staging Strategies. You will need these in order to counter any objections or clarify any points that the seller may bring up. Sellers agents hear many of these objections again and again and again. Let's go back to Gary Gentry and see how he conducts his consultative process and handles these common objections.
Justine, now that we're through with the paperwork, we've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started on the staging and talk to you about the benefits of that and give you an idea of the kinds of things we're going to do to try to help you get that higher price and get it accomplished in a shorter period of time, because I remember that's what you'd said you want to accomplish.
I do want that, but I really had in my mind that we would do an as-is sale. I'm resistant to having the house staged and having to live here in a model home feeling.
Right.
And I also have concerns about money. I don't want to spend anything to sell this house. I really would like to just get it off my hands.
I see. I understand. Those are all very legitimate concerns, and that's your choice. That'll be a decision that you can make. My role is to make sure that you understand the implications of that and see the benefit from a financial standpoint if you were to decide to stage the property. Because the thing that I can assure you is that it will help you get the home sold much more quickly and help us realize a much higher price if it is staged. Part of the reason is because the reality is, whether it's my home or your home, the way you live in a home and the way you sell a home are two different ways. Because you have different objectives. So if I were to show you 10 homes today, you'd find that probably 8 or 9 of them were not staged, at least to the degree that it's possible to stage a home. So at the end of the day, when a buyer goes home and after they've seen 10 or 12 properties, if yours just stands out and they recall all the positive things about it, they're much more likely to come in and make a contract offer on yours and to give you a higher price. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm just so hesitant to move forward with this piece because I really, in my mind, thought I would sell the house as is and give concession or something if they wanted to replace the carpet when I move out. But I have to live here, and so I'm really hesitant to have a staged home.
Yeah, and I really relate to that, because if I were to tell you that putting your house on the market was not a hassle and was easy, I would be lying to you, and I'm not going to do that.
Sure.
One of the things that you'll find in today's market, and we talked about this a little bit, because it is a market that is changing and has changed a tremendous amount. And we looked at these numbers before, and if you compare this month with the same month 12 months ago, there are 20.5% fewer homes that have sold this past month than a year ago at this time. And if fewer homes are selling, that means the inventory of active homes is continuing to build and to grow. So now we've got 22% more homes on the market. Average days on the market, 114 days on the market. And so this is the kind of market where you really have to differentiate yourself. And this is a very neat house. to maximize all of the positives of this house. If, as you look at the staging recommendations, you can kind of look at it with that in mind. It will really make a difference in terms of how much money you're going to net. How important is that part of it to you?
It's important. I just really feel strongly that I don't want to put any money or time into this house.
I see. I understand. And it probably makes it harder because you have kids, too.
Oh, sure.
I understand that. Well, let me show you something here and ask you a question. If you're in the market for a sandwich, which one of those would you buy? Right.
Stuff in it. That's pretty easy.
It is easy. But, you know, one of the things, and in fact, you happened to mention this as an example before, when a house is showcased properly, buyers notice. Okay. They can tell the difference. It's maybe the top 10% of properties that really are staged so well that buyers remember it, and it leaves them with such a positive impression. They have trouble visualizing, so why would you give the competition an advantage over you by offering a carpet allowance, for example, instead of us just coming in and replacing the carpet?
Well, what if I replace the carpet and then my children spill on it, or I ruin the new carpet before a buyer even has the chance to? These are the kinds of things that I'm concerned about.
Those would be a concern because the stains that you have on there now could happen again.
From my
That's
children.
Right. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to help you with that because I've found that a lot of times I can get some compliance out of kids because they want to help in this process.
Sure.
That it'd be hard for a mom to be able to get them to do because they're not used to having a stranger ask them to do these things and to play up how important it is for them to play their role. So I'll help you on that sort of thing.
Okay.
And then, you know, we may have to set some new parameters. They don't drink juice in the living room. They only stay in hard surface areas like the kitchen and the breakfast room.
Well, again, I live here, so those are all going to be concerns of mine.
That makes it hard. I know. Well, let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
This is the DVD that I'm going to give you, and it's a 16-minute DVD.
Okay.
And you can just look at that, and we'll set it up so your kids look at it with you.
Okay.
It shows you before and after, and we can really get them on board. I've had great experiences in being able to do that. This shows you some examples of some properties. Here's one that these are after they have been staged.
Okay.
This applies in all different price ranges.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what price range it is. It doesn't matter the neighborhood that it's in because it applies 100% of the time because really what you're talking about is the emotional impact.
Yeah.
My goal when that woman decision maker leaves this home, I want her, because she's the one that makes the decisions by and large. She's more capable of making those decisions to determine what's best for her and the family and if there are kids involved, that sort of thing. And also, typically, she's willing to act on it. When she leaves this home, I want her to have a gnawing fear in the pit of her stomach.
Someone else wants it.
Right. If she doesn't write an offer on this, she might lose it. And that's the person who's emotionally engaged, who's connected to this property, that is going to offer the highest price, and they're going to act on it quickly. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Can you see how that would work on a person?
I do. I'm still really time and money.
And again, you already have a lot of those components.
Okay.
So we may not have to do those things to yours, but as we walk through, I'll be able to point that out to you, and I'll make a list for you.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
I'm just still really interested in selling as is. I want to do this the easiest possible way, and for me right now that entails no work and no money.
Right. And that just sounds like that would be more trouble for you and concerned about the cost. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, again, that doesn't matter to me. That's your choice.
Okay.
It's your property. I can help you sell it as is, or I can help you sell it staged.
Okay.
As I mentioned before, buyers have more money than they have time or the ability to visualize, and they're willing to spend more money every single time if they can move into a house without having to lift a finger. People are so busy these days. And I know you're busy, so you can surely relate to that. If you want to sell it as is, what we will do is I can go back and go through that market analysis that we talked about. And you'll notice here at the bottom of the market analysis, I wrote down in staged and pristine condition, because I'm trying to get you the highest price that I can possibly squeeze out of the current market. And I know that staged and in pristine condition will bring about that price. So if you want to sell it as is, we can do that. I'll just have to go back and redo the comparables that I'm using, because I'm comparing properties that are staged, that look
so are you
at
saying,
their best.
Are you saying that that means we won't list it at the price that we discussed? That we'll. Now I'm concerned about finance, that we won't be taking that amount to the bank that we discussed. And so,
well, that's your decision, but there will be a difference in price. There's no question about that. If you get a property that just rings someone's bell when they walk out, that is going to bring a higher price, because it'll elicit an emotional response that will justify them spending more money. If it's a property that they look at and they say, well, gosh, I'm going to have to paint, and I'm going to have to do some yard work, and I'm going to have to replace the carpet, then at that point, it's not a move-in condition. They're thinking about, how much money am I going to have to spend? It's the other side of the equation that you're considering. Because what I hear you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I hear you saying you're concerned about the amount of money that you might have to spend, and the hassle and the time. And see, the buyer is on the other side of that. They're thinking exactly the same thing you are. And so then, if it might cost $3,000 to replace the carpet, even if I could get a contractor to agree not to be paid until closing, they may estimate it's going to cost them $6,000 or $7,000. But worse yet, when you have a lot of inventory on the market, you don't even get the offer. Where they offer you $7,000 less. They just go on to the next house. Because they're looking for one they can move into. So, Justine, can you see how the condition, how it's staged, and that price are the critical components to getting you that price that you need, that you want, and that this house can bring if it's staged, and also help you get it sold quickly so that you can get moved before the start of school?
I do see that. And I would like to see the list of things that we would need to take care of, and sort of address it at that point, what I think I'm capable of doing. Okay.
We can sure do that. And the other thing to reassure you, because you mentioned before that you don't have the time or the expertise to do these things yourself, or know people who can, that's something that I can help you with. Because I have trusted contractors that I work with that know the purpose of this. The purpose is to not spend a dollar that we're not going to more than get back in terms of higher price, shorter time. And we'll get written estimates on all of this. So then you can look at that along with the list, and we can talk about...
and I don't have to commit to anything until we have that information.
I wouldn't if I were in your shoes. I'd want to look at what those numbers are. And I think at this point you kind of see the benefit, if I understand you.
I do see the benefit, and the price point is important.
Absolutely.
That I hit that price point. So when we talk about that, and that I may have to lower my price if I don't change the condition of the home, I understand that, and I see your point.
Yeah, that kind of hits home there, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
And I can assure you that will make an enormous difference, and it differentiates us from all the other masses of properties that are out there that haven't gone through this process like we're going to take you through the process.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Notice how Gary proceeded confidently but cautiously in his consultation. He used photos, presented the cost of not staging, and let the information be the bad guy. Remember, you don't make the market. You simply study it and interpret it. And you wouldn't be doing your job if you didn't tell them that staging is highly recommended to sell their home quickly and for the most money. We've reached the end of part 2. Please come back for part 3, where we'll discuss setting expectations with the seller and your options for actually staging the property itself.